Now to an exclusive look at Fresno's connection to the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indy 500. Fresno native Billy Vukovich won the Indy 500 twice in the 1950s, and some say he was on his way to becoming one of the greatest IndyCar drivers of all time.
Now, he tragically died in 1955 while leading the Indy 500, but his legacy lives on. Our Adrian Thomas remembers Bill Vukovich.
The winner, Bill Vukovich.
A racing great and Fresno's hometown hero.
The checkered flag, Bill Vukovich wins.
Billy drove like there was no tomorrow. You know, I think that he drove with no fear.
Bill Vukovich, sometimes simply known as Vukie, was a two-time Indianapolis 500 winner in 1953 and 1954. Vukovich was a Fresno native, and in the 1930s, a style of racing known as midget car racing was booming in the U.S., and California was a hot spot. Vukovich and his brother Eli became hooked and wanted to win.
With his upbringing, he had a lot of pride, but with a very tough childhood, it made him want to achieve more.
In their late teens, the Vukovich brothers would connect with Fred Gearhart, an accomplished racing engineer and race car designer in Fresno. Vukovich's niece, Janet Vukovich King, still lives in Fresno today. Her father, Eli Vukovich, worked as a mechanic and drove midget cars with his younger brother. Janet still has photos of many of those races on dirt tracks across the Central Valley.
When the Vukovich brothers were coming, they could plan on a big crowd because they would always battle it out.
Bill Vukovich would win the National Midget Championship in 1945, 1946, 1947, and 1948. Bill and Eli dominated the midget car circuit for about a decade, but it was Bill who would continue to climb the racing ladder and make his way to IndyCar by the early 50s. After coming close twice, he was hungry for a win in 1953.
When the green flag fell on race day, he immediately took the lead, led 195 of the 200 laps to win his first 500.
He would return in 1954 and dominate the race. He was on his way to becoming a legend.
With a purse of $75,000, Vukie becomes the biggest money winner in Indianapolis history and the third driver ever to win the fantastic 500 2 years in a row.
With 2 wins under his belt, Vukovich was poised to make history in 1955. He was way out front of the pack when tragedy struck.
Looked well on his way to a third consecutive 500, which had never happened, when he got involved in a crash on the backstretch, and that crash took his life.
Janet Vukovich King was only 7 years old, but she remembers that awful day.
They said, Bill Vukovich is dead. And my dad reached up, turned the radio off, unplugged it, pushed away from the table, walked out the door, and went for a walk.
Vukovich was laid to rest at Belmont Memorial Park in Fresno. The tragic loss would drive his older brother Eli to retire from racing.
My dad went to a couple races afterwards, and he would take me to the races then, but he didn't race a lot after his brother was killed. The interest was gone.
But the interest would be renewed in the family. Bill Vukovich II and Bill Vukovich III, known as Billy, both would have accomplished midget and IndyCar careers. The Vukovich family's legacy is also enshrined in downtown Fresno with a memorial to Bill Vukovich. In 2019, a second memorial was constructed honoring all the racing Vukoviches.
The love of speed is so strong, and the smell and the sounds, that it's just hard to explain how it's part of my life. I don't know of any other part of my life that has meant that much.
Reporting in Fresno, I'm Adrian Thomas.